All right, so let's talk about the CD. How did all this come about?
Well, we were very fortunate in that a grant was proposed to do a CD that featured or was involved with one of the students at IUS. His name is Stephen Pierce.
Oh, I've met him, yeah.
And he's, I guess, an audiophile and aspiring musician and a recording engineer. So he was able to get a grant to work with us to develop this particular CD. It's entitled "It's All Goodin."
Oh, I feel like that's a reference to something.
It is. So one of the founding members of the current version of the Louisville Mandolin Orchestra is a player by the name of John Goodin. And John was actually an IUS employee. He was a librarian, so there's kind of an IUS connection there. He had worked at IUS during the time that he was a member of the Louisville Mandolin Orchestra. This is back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. But John became interested not only as a performer, but also in composition. And it's kind of interesting in the same fashion that a member of a band will sometimes introduce new ideas, new musical ideas for the band to work up. John was kind of influenced by hearing the sound of a mandolin orchestra and decided he wanted to try his hand at composition and developing melodies for the mandolin orchestra. And we were very receptive to doing original music. And so John wrote a piece of music called the Louisville Suite, which was representing various Louisville landmarks: Upriver Road, Cave Hill, a cemetery in Louisville.
I've been there.
And Locust Grove, which is a historic home in the eastern part of the county, former home of George Rogers Clark.
Okay. So as far as I know, Stephen Pierce, he's going to be more of an engineer for this whole thing, isn't
Right. He really did all the engineering work and all the recording work, and we spent probably a series of 6 to 8 Monday evenings where we worked for several hours. And the reason why it's called "It's All Goodin" is because all the pieces on this particular CD are all works for mandolin orchestra by John Goodin. And John has really gained some acclaim as a composer. He has had music published by Mel Bay. He's also had music published in Europe by the Trekkel Company, which is a major European mandolin publisher.
So what is this recording process going to be like with all of these instruments, all of these, are we going to be doing a 3-mic thing? Or?
Well, actually there was sectional miking for each of the 6 voices within the mandolin orchestra: mandolin 1, mandolin 2, mandola, mandocello, guitar, and bass. One of the challenges with a large string ensemble like this is developing the sound that has a close physical proximity. In other words, oftentimes when you hear classical recordings, it sounds like the music is happening down the hall in a different room. There's a lot of air sound that I think kind of permeates the music. But what we were looking for was something with a lot more physical, close proximity, so that it sounds like the instruments are real close. So if you could picture yourself as putting, your head right in the center of the group when you're actually listening to it, that was kind of the sound that we were trying to capture. And I think Stephen did a marvelous job of that in the way he was able to close mic all of the sections and then bring that through during the mixing and editing.
That's really cool. So we're going to be looking for more of a modern type cleanliness feel to this recording then.
Absolutely. And also that you're it's almost like your head's right in the middle of the instruments.
Yeah, that's very cool. So is there a date for the release of the CD?
Right. Our CD release concert event will take place at IUS on October 29th at a 7:30 p.m. concert. And the CDs will be available that night. That's when it will be released.